Here is max forward speed, and he is having his second post-track ride today. He had his first ride on Monday, and then he was actually just like a little bit sore on Monday. I have no idea why, but sometimes when they come right off the track after they haven't been doing much for a couple of weeks, they're just so pent up and bubbling with energy that they really act like hooligans in their little paddocks when they first get here. And who knows if he hopped on a rock or what he did, but he just obviously he made himself a little bit sore for that ride on Monday. I mean, it was just like a hair. But anyway, so then yesterday he was off, and then today he came out feeling wonderful. So he was perfectly sound today, and so who knows what he did to himself for Monday's ride. But I was glad to see that he felt well today, and he was excellent. We had a great second ride today. So Max is a 15 3-hand 5-year-old thoroughbred gelding by Keen Ice, which is a Curlin line. And I've had a couple of these and I always really like them. And he's out of a Tappet mare. He had 26 career starts, which is, I would say, fairly normal for a 5-year-old. His last was on 718, but as his racing connections would tell you, it doesn't really count as a start because he broke from the gate at the walk and proceeded to walk his last race, which was the final nail in the coffin on his racing career. He had actually also done that once before, a few starts prior, and so I guess they were hoping that maybe that was just a fluke. But then he did it again, and it's pretty funny. You should go to, if you're interested in him or you just want to laugh, you should go to Equibase and read the notes, because it's just funny how they commentate on the fact that he didn't refuse to break from the gate. That's always kind of, to me, a little bit of like a red flag when horses refuse to break from the gate. He did break from the gate, just not at a gallop, instead at a walk. So anyway, pretty funny. But Max is just the ultimate cutie. There's something about chestnuts with the big old white blaze, and he's got the stocking, and he just has this absolutely sort of quizzical, sweet look on his face at all times. And I just think he's the cutest little chestnut ever. And I know I've said that about other chestnuts in the past. And I'm just such a sucker for a cute chestnut. I just think that they're all the cutest chestnuts. But he's especially adorable. I really love having him in the barn. So this is his second post-track ride, and I really appreciate him because he is just such a simple, easygoing horse. He's doing all the perfectly normal baby TB things. He's learning quickly. Once he gets something, you don't have to keep on harping on it. He just gets it, and you can just move on to the next thing. He's figuring out the contact really nicely. I'm not obsessed with the contact. He doesn't need to be round at all times. I think that that's sort of a ridiculous expectation for a horse that's so green. But like little moments like this, I'm always having the conversation with him. I'm just not going to, cram it down his throat. The first priority is balance and straightness. And then as he gets those things, then coming round and soft just sort of comes naturally. And so for him, that's absolutely the case, which you can see how that's evolving here in our ride. He was funny today. I don't know what caught his eye, but there was something outside the ring up. Actually, no, I think it was the wind chime on my parents' front porch. It was a little breezy today, so it was really chiming away. So he was a little bit distracted by that. So a couple times I just had to refocus him, which is why I sort of sometimes lost the softness, just because he was kind of putting his head up to look at what that chiming noise was coming from, but that's just no big deal at all. When you lose their attention on something outside the ring, I do think it's important to guide them back. You don't want them to think that it's okay to just totally tune you out and put you on pause while they check out whatever they're checking out. But I don't want to do it. It's not like they're being punished to do that. So I just try and use a little bit of like a guiding inside rein. Usually I'll do a circle just to try and get them to pull their brains back into the ring. So there, actually, that's kind of what I was just talking about. We just came around that corner. He was looking up at the road or whatever, and just a little bit of a conversation with the inside rein to ask him to just sort of keep his brain on me and inside the ring. And then this is all very good and cute. I always feel like the first post track ride is just like a meet and greet. I'm just getting a general feel for how the horse feels and what they do and what they don't know. And on the first post track ride, I'm really not looking to ruffle a lot of feathers unless there are some hard things that need to sometimes be addressed, like um, a complete lack of steering, or they have to go forward when you ask them to go forward, they have to slow down when you ask them to slow down, things like that, like really really basic things where it would be unsafe not to address it. But for the most part, as long as they're good solid citizens, which the vast majority of them are, I'm just sort of happy to have a really friendly conversation with them for the first post track ride and just try and meet them wherever they are. And then on the second ride is kind of where we get to work. So on this ride, we're doing just a lot more circles and figure eights. And yeah, we're walking over some poles, and we're just having a little bit of a more direct conversation, which he's totally willing to engage in. He's actually just super easy. If you want a very simple horse who I think is just going to clock right along, then that is certainly Max. He has a very adorable, balanced little canter. And what I like about Max is that he's really just right in the middle between woe and go. Like, certainly this is not a quick horse or a hot horse at all. But he's also not like super sluggish. He's happy to kind of clock around and do his job, but without being overexcitable or rushing on. He's just right in the middle, which is a really happy place to be. And this is very cute and lovely. I find him very pleasant to ride. And then when I watch the video back, I'm happy that it also looks, from my point of view, pleasant to watch. And that's just kind of the type of horse that he is. A canter to the right is just a little bit tougher. Turning to the right is, to the left, he turns great in the canter. To the right is just a little bit harder, which is very stereotypical. 9 times out of 10, that's going to be the case for these guys as they're right off the track. So we had been doing our canter to the left, which had been going really well, and then he broke, which was kind of what you saw when the video cut there. He broke, which was fine. I asked him to canter again. He picked up the right lead, and so we just cut across the diagonal, and I decided to just work the right canter for a couple of minutes, and then we go back to the left. So that was intentional. I asked him to trot there. So now we're just going to cut across the diagonal and find the left canter again. I just wanted to do a little bit more to the left. And I try and be a little bit harder on myself about not letting them break out of the canter, one, and two, when they do break out of the canter, they need to come right back into it, because these are just little habits that are very important to form when they're young horses. And I say this from experience of having not installed these little good habits in past personal horses, and then had to, live with the consequences and go back and fix things that should have just been established right here at this very first step. And it's not like you need to be, I'm not angry, I'm not mean about it, they're not in trouble, there's no reason for anybody to feel anxious or upset. But it's just being consistent. I asked him to canter, so we're going to keep cantering until I ask him to trot. So he was a super good boy for this ride. I was really happy with him. And then this is just him on cross ties. We got some rain last night, and he was a mud ball. So he had to get almost near a full bath to get all the stone dust and mud off of him. But look at that face. He always has that expression on his face. It is just the cutest little thing ever.